26 registered. We noticed last time, especially for the previous Xero one, and also for the one that Brent did last week, we do have quite a fair few people that download it and listen to it later. So if you are listening to it on a recording, welcome as well. I'm Peter Schonen. I'm sure most of you have attended one of these webinars before. If you haven't, we have also Sarah Fox, who is going to give us a Hubdoc demonstration today. Helen on the call as well, one of the partners at Canars. Hopefully this one will go for about half hour, 45 minutes. So give you enough time to get out and enjoy the sunset, as we said before. Hubdoc recently came on board with Xero a couple of years ago. So Xero acquired Hubdoc in a merger, so to speak. The founders of Hubdoc sold out their company to Xero, and they acquired some Xero shares along with some bonuses and things like that. What that meant was that in March this year, Xero brought Hubdoc under its roof. And if you are a business subscriber to Xero in the Xero platform, Hubdoc is now free to use. So Sarah's going to step you through the benefits of why you should use Hubdoc, how it helps you out with receipt management, and also automating invoice and supplier statements, which you may receive as well, which is really quite cool. So for example, instead of getting your electricity bill posted to your house, you can get it emailed to you, but you can also get it inputted automatically into Hubdoc, which can then send it straight to Xero. So the theme of the day is all about automation in this sense, and it's just about making your life easier from a record keeping point of view. As you've known over the years, obviously if you've moved on to Xero, the record keeping and the bookkeeping times decrease quite substantially. Hubdoc is looking to bring all your record keeping into one spot and further automate and reduce the amount of time that you have to spend on accounting, and the more time you can spend doing other things like family or business or farm or whatever that might be. Just a bit of housekeeping. We do ask that Sarah will put you on mute in a minute. Once that happens, if you could unmute, but ask any questions along the way as well. So if you want to just type in a chat question rather than ask it, we can do it from there. And also at the end of the session, I'll have a quick link to a survey if you could take the survey for us, just so we get a bit of feedback on how the session went, and also if there's any improvements that we may need to do. This is Sarah's first Zoom session, and I think probably your second presenting session. So I'm sure she'll do quite well anyway. So I'll hand it over to I'll hand it over to Sarah, who'll give us a Hubdoc demo on what's so great about Hubdoc, why you should use it, and how it's going to save us all time. So go for it, Sarah.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. So I know a few of you have already had a little bit of exposure with Hubdoc before. You may have had one of our previous sessions, or I know a few of your names there I've helped you set up your files before. So what I'll run through today is probably going to cover some things that you may already know, but if you haven't seen Hubdoc before, it'll be a start to finish to kind of, I guess, show you the benefits as well as, yeah, how we can use it. So I'm going to just quickly share my screen. I want to show you guys a quick little diagram that hopefully will help, I guess, reiterate the functions that Xero has, as well as using Hubdoc and bank rules, and just the differentiating of when it's appropriate to use which bits. So I'm just going to share my screen now. So hopefully you can all see this little graph that I've got here. So you probably have already heard of bank rules before. When we usually go through and set up your file, it's one of the first things that we go in and show you how to do. So that's a form of automation within Xero. On top of that, we've got these extra cool little features called Hubdoc, which I'm going to show you today, Xero Connect, and we've got auto suggestions. So basically, in terms of Hubdoc, as Pete said, it is an auto fetch and data, I guess, document management program. So you can fetch documents and file them automatically using Hubdoc, but you can also use the transactions to then import into Xero. So what we're really looking to maximize by using Hubdoc is getting these documents that we need that specific detail that's on the documents, and having the importance of the source document being high. Things like your bank fees and interest charges, obviously there's no documentation for them, and the predictability is pretty high on them. That's why we use a bank rule. So you're still going to be using bank rules while you're using Hubdoc, but it may mean that you're using less bank rules. So previously you might have had a rule for electricity or for Bunnings payments and things like that. When you use Hubdoc, you're going to need to go and review those bank rules and try and get rid of them. Otherwise, the two are going to conflict together. So just thought I'd show you this, and I'll just jump into Hubdoc now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to show you what Hubdoc looks like. Alrighty, can we all see everything now? Awesome. So this is your landing page when you jump into Hubdoc. So you can see on the side here, we've got some documents that have come in previously. I'm going to show you how to bring these in, but this is just anything that's sitting that's come across previously. Obviously, as time goes on, this list gets pretty long. So we have got a few different tabs here. So we've got a processing tab, a review tab, a failed, and an archive tab. So these different tabs represent the stages that the document's at. As Pete said, Hubdoc aims to basically extract the data from the documents that you've taken a picture of, emailed in, or auto-fetched via a account linkage. And it goes in to read the GST, the total amount, who the supplier is. So on the left-hand side here, we can see that this transaction has come in from Puma, $73.27, and that's been read by Hubdoc. So what we can do to upload a document and get it in here, we've got these cool features here, which is a drag and drop, which you can do from your screen. You can capture photos on your phone, which I'm going to show you how to do in a second, or you could submit via email. So some of you may already use the Xero email to bills function. It's a little bit similar to that, but Xero doesn't quite do this data management system where it starts to file everything that you've got coming through. So on the left-hand side here, you can see that as these transactions and as these receipts and invoices and bills have come through, Hubdoc has auto-filed them based on the supplier that it's read. So if I was to click in here to Officeworks, these are the documents that I've previously purchased or previously taken a picture of and put into Hubdoc. It's then filed them for me. So what you can do is we can add an account and we can look at our, look at our auto accounts and go into this all companies listing. So I'm just going to look through a few of these and just show you the types of companies that we can auto fetch data from. So on here, like a typical example is we've got Telstra accounts. So you've got Telstra Business, Telstra AU. You've got things like your BP, I believe, I think by memory, or Bunnings. So your PowerPass accounts. So if you've got suppliers that you're having a regular statement coming through on a monthly basis, you can have those documents being pushed straight through to Hubdoc by linking your accounts. So if we were to just look at this Bunnings one here, you'll see what comes up is it asks for a username and a password. That's just the login that you use to get into those accounts. And by creating and establishing a connection between Hubdoc and that account, it means rather than you then having to push the data into Hubdoc each time that you receive or it's time for you to receive those bills, it comes straight across. So it can really make that process a little bit quicker in terms of one, getting the documentation. Then the next little bit is making sure that that data is extracted and pushing it across to Xero even easier so that you're not then having to go and manually enter in those transactions into Xero to link the document to that transaction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you an example of using the app on your phone to take a photo of the document. So I'm just going to share this bit here. Just jump back into gotta love technology. Alrighty, so we're going to get a little video here of my little puppy on my screen, but I'm going to just make this a little bit, press play on here. So you can see in the top corner here, I've got this Hubdoc app, which you can just download from the App Store. What happens is, just don't think this is playing. Move this forward a little bit for you. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to click into this Hubdoc button here. It's going to go into the app on my phone. So once you've downloaded from the App Store, this is what you'll see. You click in. It's the same sort of data that I showed you on the desktop version just before, just in a format on your phone. Obviously, if you want that bigger screen, it's a little bit better, but you can have the same functionality. You can click into each transaction and view the document. So what you can then do is you can look at the folders button, which is down here. So if you've categorized your transactions into folders, you can then view them here. So maybe you had a folder for, you had it for a specific person or a specific credit card that you were spending money on, and you wanted them all linked together. You could use this folders function to have the documents all tied together on your app. The next bit that I'll show you is the tags button here. So this is quite a cool function in Hubdoc, is that you can use the tags function to tag 2020 tax transactions, or maybe it's for a particular motor vehicle. So you wanted to tag the rego, insurance, fuel expenses for one vehicle or for two vehicles, and be able to see them quite easily. So by creating a tag for them, you can then drill into these tags and see all of those documents rather than having to go into each individual supplier. So the next bit is just showing you the settings here. So by clicking on this burger button, you can get the settings within your file. So you've got the ability to upload a file from your actual phone camera roll. You can add folders here, change organizations if you've got multiples, and you've got this save to iPhone button. I generally leave mine unticked just so that I don't clog up my camera roll with any pictures of documents, but it's completely up to you what you'd like to do in that circumstance. So the next bit here, it's just a recording, so it is a little bit lagged, but I'm going to show you how to upload a document using the camera button. So you click on this button here. You've then got the receipt, making sure that you've got a copy, or sorry, got details of the supplier name, the date, the total, and the GST amount. Because it's an extraction service, if you don't have that data on the photo that you take or on the scan that you take, it's not going to be able to read it. So just make sure that you're really being careful when you take those photos and take those documents, that the data is on there for it to read. So you can see now it's coming here as a Hubdoc mobile app. If we wait a few seconds, what's going to happen is it's going to change from there and it's going to be able to read the data. Hubdoc's quite quick in the fact that most of these extractions are pretty much instantaneous. If in the event that it's something that Hubdoc hasn't seen before, there is a little bit of a delay, but it then goes to a service where a physical person will go and look at that document, figure out the fields and figure out the places on that document that the fields come from, and they will then manually extract it. Next time the document is uploaded or something from that supplier that looks the same as uploaded, it will be able to read it because it's had that history where it's been able to see that transaction being uploaded. So it's quite good in the fact that the artificial learning that's there, it's learning as you're doing. So if you find something that you've uploaded a document and something is wrong on it, you can change it in Hubdoc, and next time you do it, it will fix it for you, and it will recognize that you've updated it in the past and what it did originally isn't what you want it to do. So it's quite cool in that respect. So what I will do now is I'm just going to stop this screen and I'm going to show you, now that we've taken this document in to our Hubdoc file for this Puma transaction, which is what I've just shown you on the app, I'm going to show you how we then tell Hubdoc how to read the transaction. So we can see here we've got this Puma document for $73.27. if we look on the right-hand side here, there's an edit document button. If we click on this, we can see that it's brought through Puma, it's brought through the date of the transaction, it's pulled out the total amount, and it's pulled out the tax rate and GST. Down the bottom here, we can see that we've got a destination linked with Xero, and it hasn't had anything allocated to it yet. There's a save configuration button here, which means that if we have this button ticked and we fill out these details, next time that something comes through from Puma, it will automatically allocate it the same way that we've configured it this time. You've then got the auto sync function, which makes it even quicker. So rather than having to go in and press publish, it would automatically do it for you. So it's completely up to you whether or not you'd like to do that or not. You have got the ability to change the account that it goes to and add additional lines. If you use that auto sync function, obviously it's going to cut out a process, but it won't enable you to edit it at that stage. So just make sure you're really looking at whether or not you want to use that function and whether it works for what you're trying to do. So with that, I'm going to show you how to go through and, I guess, link a document to Xero. So this one here, we're going to come down here and we're going to click on Publish as a Spend Money Transaction. We do have the ability to change it to a purchase, so that would be a bill in Xero. The Spend Money Transaction means we've already spent the money, we want it coming through onto the bank statement, which is what we want to do here. So in this instance, we can then select the contact. So in this case, I'm just going to type in Puma, and we don't have it already, so we're going to click New Contact. We're then going to write this in here and click Create. And this will create a new contact in our Xero file. So previously, we obviously hadn't had one in Xero. This is going to create one in our file. We can then choose a bank account. So this is quite handy in the event that you've got a credit card that you're using, and that's the main account that you use to buy things like fuel or Officeworks and things like that. If that's the case, you can usually use AutoSync as your functionality because it's always going to be from the one bank account. So in this instance, I'm going to select the business bank account. I'm going to leave the expense here as motor vehicle expenses, but you can change it if you need to. And if you need to select multiple lines, you can do that as well. If you've got tracking set up in your file, you can utilize these functions here. We've got region in here as it's a tracking category in our demo file, which is why it's come through, but you may have things like departments or different businesses as well. So now that we're happy with all that, we're going to click this publish button. And you'll see it changes now to a tick. So previously it was a little, I guess, warning mark. Now it's a tick saying means we've published it, it's gone across to Xero. And what we can do is we can jump into Xero. Just check, can you guys see? Yep, awesome. So we're going to jump into this business bank account then. And so it was Puma, and I believe it was towards the end of June. So I'm just going to jump right to the end here. So here it is. So it was Puma for 73.27, and we can see that the document here has been, it's matched it as a green transaction. So if you've had history of Xero using matching invoices or matching bills, you'll notice that that means it's matching it to a transaction. So if we click OK on this one, it's then reconciled the transaction. That's pretty cool because when you get to the point that you've got Officeworks, you've got McDonald's, or you've got things coming out on a regular basis and you've automatically got the documents in there, very quickly this screen here comes to be a lot of OKs rather than having to manually go through and enter in the contact, the account, and the description of what it is that you're purchasing. The even better thing, oops,
so
sorry.
Sarah, yeah, so essentially what we're trying to get towards is that you're not having to do any accounting at all, really, like very minimal. Like by the time you set up your bank rules for those sort of bank transactions, which you talked about, or accounts payable and invoices, and then also with receipts and invoices through Hubdoc, what this screen will now look like as far as reconciling will mostly just be checking and okaying, won't it really? There won't be any input if we get it right.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep, so it'll be a lot like this. So we'll just have okay, okay, okay. And It just means that one, it's good from your perspective in the bookkeeping's obviously taking a lot less time, but from our perspective, it's pretty awesome as well, because it means that if it comes time to do your BAS or do your tax work and we have queries, we have the document attached in Xero. So if I was to search in our transactions here, I'm just going to click on account transactions. And I'm just going to search for that 7327 that we put through. Say we were coming across our ledger and we had a query on fuel liters that you'd purchased, or we had you had some repairs and maintenance and we wanted to know exactly what it was for. We can drill down into the transaction, open the document that's attached to that transaction, and quickly see what exactly it was that you purchased. And we can obviously, it's not a matter of having to chase up those documents then and go back and find it. It's all attached to the transaction the date that you've done it. So it helps on your perspective from bookkeeping, but it also helps on ours as well. I think you agree with that, Pete? So
yeah, we've got a client who has a accounts lead that does this for her through this method, and when we're actually reviewing figures, we're able to drill right down into, go as far as the receipt. So if we're having a meeting here, or if he's looking on his computer, he can look at the profit and loss and he can go, okay, I've spent a lot on repairs. He can drill into it, and then he can go all the way down into the actual receipt or invoice. I mean, so this hasn't been done previous to the last couple of years with Hubdoc and those sort of programs. So I think it's really awesome. And as you said, we can click, go to Hubdoc on the button here, and you can take it all the way back too. So
yeah, so
really it's all integrated.
Yeah, so if we've got access to your Hubdoc file, we can also push back and click this, or you can use it yourself. So say it's a transaction that you wanted to go back and look at, you can click this and it will take you straight back to Hubdoc and to the document. So the other thing that Hubdoc's got, which is quite cool, is it's got a login with Xero function. So you don't necessarily have to have a separate login for your Hubdoc file as well as your Xero file. You can use the two simultaneously. So the other function that you can do with Hubdoc, obviously it's not just spend money. As I did mention, you could bring through bills. So in Hubdoc, rather than bringing it through as a spend money transaction, we can bring it through as a bill. And this is quite handy, I guess, if you wanted to have maybe a multiple step process. So say you had one person that was in charge of uploading the documents, one person in charge of reviewing it, and then you wanted to have a draft stage when it got to Xero. So this is before you actually approve the invoice for payment in Xero. So we can change it to a purchase, and rather than having it pushed straight across as an authorized bill, we can have it as a waiting approval or waiting payment. So it's not just a matter of, oh, yep, the document's gone from Hubdoc into Xero. You can still step that process down to make sure it suits what you need to do. And you can utilize Hubdoc's differing user levels. So we've got I'll just have a look here. You can see like an upload only, a standard, or an accountant and bookkeeper user profile. So if you want someone to be able to upload documents but not necessarily see anything else that's in there, you can use this upload only function. You could use the standard function if you want to give them a little bit more, and it is customizable, so we can tick and untick these if we didn't want them to have all the rights there. Accountant and bookkeeper is defaulted to everything, but you have got that flexibility with these other users as well. So I guess the other thing we probably want to show you is, I guess, how to link your Hubdoc file. So if you're not already on Hubdoc, you can just jump into your Xero file, and it's really handy now that it's integrated with Xero. It's just a matter of clicking this button here. I can't do it in here because it's a demo company, but what would happen is you'll click on Hubdoc. It will come up with a screen saying, do you want to set up a Hubdoc file? I'm authorized. You click OK, and then it takes you straight into Hubdoc and you're ready to go. So the setup process is really quite limited. It will create the connection and things like that for you. It's just a matter then of just checking to make sure that you've got a few settings set up to make sure that you're extracting the tax data and yeah, whether or not you want to publish to Xero files and things like that as well. So
Sarah, just a question I had, is that something that canards have to do for the client's file, or the client, or everyone can do it from there?
So with the changes that have happened, oops, I'll just check to see. With the changes that have happened, I don't believe that it's necessarily something, I'll just stop sharing my screen, sorry. I don't think it's necessarily something that canals need to do. I have had a client that has done it themselves. If you do have any issues, it may be due to the rights that you've got as a user though. So you may need a higher level. If that's the case, if you click on that, that Hubdoc, just see if I can get into someone else's, but I can't. If you click on that Hubdoc button and it says that it's grayed out and you can't click to add the file, just give us a call and we can check the rights on your user. But as a rule, you should be able to just go through and click it. So yeah, does anyone have any questions in regards to Hubdoc or anything you're unsure of or you've heard of before? Or
Michael Green's just.
Hello.
Oh, g'day, Brad. How are you?
How you going? Go, mate. How you going?
Yeah,
I've got
good.
a few
Mate.
questions. I got lots actually.
yeah,
Go.
So, sales.
yeah.
So what all my stores do is they'll write down in an Excel spreadsheet sales, and they all need to go to different general ledger codes.
Yeah.
So they could take a photo of that, and that would be uploaded.
So it's an Excel file, is it?
Yeah. So they could take a photo of that, or we could make it so it looks like an invoice. They could upload that.
So you can upload accounts receivable invoices. It just depends what format it's in, I guess, as to what's going to be able to be read. But yeah, like you have got the ability to do accounts receivable invoices. So possibly.
Okay, next one, invoices. So say if say a supplier that we have, say 8 stores that use, and each store goes to its own particular, you know how you have your departments or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you just how do you make it go to the right department?
Yeah, yep. So I'll just share my screen again for you, and I'm just going to show you.
So that's.
I saw how you did it before, but you can do it seamlessly.
As in changing, as in like between
So
them.
what I'm hoping for is that the managers will take a photo, and that will go directly into Xero. So instead of someone going through and making the changes, so say Frenchville would go buy pies or something, and they take a photo, and it's just from say Bernie's Pies. Yep. Is there a way to have that go direct into Frenchville Bernie's Pies account?
Probably.
So technically, if we put like our code on each invoice, so like which say Frenchville's FV, is it possible to teach it to pick up that's an FV invoice?
It'll depend what the invoice looks like because it's working on data extraction. If it was the same between the different different stores.
Yeah.
If it's the same supplier and it looks the same, it's possibly not going to be able to pick it up without you going through and changing it in that publish screen.
Okay, so even if we wrote on each individual invoice like FV or whatever, it couldn't pick that up because
it may do. If we can get it right, you probably could. Yeah.
It'd be
and that would work for every invoice if we can make that to pick up that code or whatever we put on it.
It'd be because it's written on it. That's the only thing. But yeah, if it works, it'd be awesome. But it'd just be a matter of just tweaking it to get that header right to make sure that it can extract the data that it needs. So
yeah, okay.
There's just got to be a distinguishing factor between them. So if you've got something that looks the same on all of them, it's not going to be able to pick up and go, this is different to the other one and not be able to distinguish that. So it's I guess, although it's smart, it's got to have the ability to distinguish between them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we could just do a test and go, okay, these are the invoices.
Yeah, well you can test it without necessarily having to link into your Xero file. So you can just download a trial Hubdoc file and just see how it reads that data and see how it changes it. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a matter of seeing what's coming across on the actual document versus what you want it to be able to read. So the data's got to be there to start with. That's the key thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions? Or?
I just got an answer to that question with regards to how to set up the Hubdoc file. We actually need to be the subscriber to set up the Hubdoc file. So if you want to set up your Hubdoc file, just send us a quick email, and from our point of view, we've just got to click a couple of buttons and you're way to go from there.
So if you're a subscriber on your file though, you should be fine to just go through and click on that Hubdoc button. So it just,
Depends if we hold a subscription or if you guys hold a subscription. Cool. Anyone else got any burning questions? What I would suggest, because it's actually free from Xero, if you're on a business edition, give it a go. It's there's a lot of help tutorials and things like that there. You can always come back to refer to this video. We'll send out a recording tomorrow or Monday, which will be helpful as well. But yeah, just give it a go and see how it goes.
The other thing I guess we didn't mention is that you can also do your bank statements. So it's not necessarily just data that you want to push across to Xero. It's things that you want to collate together. So you can make, with these automated accounts, you can pull through your bank statements and your loan statements. So rather than having to go and compile them at year end, you can drag and drop, they can automatic feed into Hubdoc, and you can then drag and like bulk download them to send to us. So you don't necessarily have to go through and scan each document to then send on. So I guess the other thing is if we've got access to your Hubdoc file, you don't even then need to download them. You can then just invite us and we can view it that way. So it's not just things you want to push to Xero. There is that ability for other things as well. So.
Could I ask, Sarah, just one more time explain, you've uploaded a document into Hubdoc, then what do you do to make it go into Xero?
Yeah, go into Xero, yep. So I'll just share my screen again. So the main thing you need to do is you need to come here on the right-hand side. So I'll just click on to here. So this one here is for Officeworks. This here is automatically come through, but you need to do this little destinations bit down the bottom. So it should say destination Xero. If it doesn't say published, that means it hasn't been published across to Xero. So you need to click on these buttons here, and you need to set the transactions that you need it, where you want it to go, So you need to tell it, if it's a receipt that you've spent, you need to tell it that it's a spend money transaction, what it was for, and the bank account it was spent from. If it's a bill that you've brought in, you need to have it go as a purchase, and you need to tell it where you want it to go as a waiting payment or waiting approval. And you then need to again say the account code and click publish once you're done. So if you haven't got auto sync set up on your file and it's just a normal pull straight through into Xero, pull straight through into Hubdoc without publishing, you need to go and click publish. So what I would normally do is I'd mark it as paid. So paid versus unpaid doesn't necessarily mean that you've paid it. What I use this for is it's my check to say, yes, I have uploaded the document to Xero. So you click on paid, you click on publish, and then it goes across. So does that sort of answers your question?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think I'll have to just play with it a little more just to go through that.
That's the best thing you can do is, just jump in and play. It's quite easy to use once you get in and use it. It's the same as Xero. It's made pretty user friendly. It's just a matter of getting in and having that play.
Yeah, and you said before, once we do that, then we go and cancel a bank rule or whatever it was.
Yeah, so just review your bank rules. So if you've currently got bank rules set up for things like electricity payments or Bunnings, things that you're going to start uploading documents for, there's no point then having that bank rule sitting in Xero, because what will end up happening is you'll go through and click OK on your bank rules before you've uploaded the documents in. And then it can end up a little bit messy. So the easiest thing to do is make sure you've only got one data automation measure in place in relation to those transactions. So bank rules are great for things like your bank charges, your interest, whether or not it's like monthly subscription fees that you don't necessarily get an invoice for, or you don't want to bring across into Hubdoc and have that document there. It's great for things like that. But if you've got an electricity bill that you're not paying the same amount and you want to have that document come into Hubdoc and come into Xero, it's better to not have that bank rule there so that you don't have that confusion between choosing a bank rule or choosing a Hubdoc document. So.
Thanks. Thank you.
Cool.
Anyone else have any questions? Or
Yeah, me again. Sorry.
you're up, Fred.
So when if you can automatic, so you take a photo and have it auto synced.
Yep.
And that's bang straight into Xero, correct?
That's correct.
No adjustments, as long
No.
as we can set it up where it needs to go.
Yeah, so the issue, it's not necessarily an issue, but you've got to make sure you've still got to review it at some point is what I would recommend. So if you're having it auto sync from Hubdoc straight into Xero, I would be suggesting having it go in as a draft purchase rather than a bill. And you've just got to make sure that your spend monies are going to the right spot. So it's great to have all this automation, but the data's still got to be accurate. So yeah.
And once you do a bill, so say if it's a bill and it's a supplier that's set up with a credit card, say, that it's paid by a credit card. So that will just come up paid, and ones that are paid on invoices will just come up unpaid.
Yeah, so what'll happen is if you bring a spend money transaction is basically a trigger to say that that money has already been spent from your bank account. If you put it through as a bill, it's going to sit there the same as what you're using your bills function for normally, if you are. So it's going to sit there as unpaid in your accounts payable ledger, and it's going to wait for the transaction to come across and match it too. So,
and we can set that up for particular suppliers, whether they're paid or unpaid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So if it's something you're paying on a credit card and it's as I said, it's something that you pay up front for, definitely spend money. But if it's something that you pay on account and you pay multiple invoices at one point in time, or it's 30-day terms, pop it through as a bill. So.
Okay. And that can be all automated as well.
Yep. So you're using Hubdoc to help cut down that process. As I said, you still should have a review process in there at some point, whether or not that's in Hubdoc or that's in Xero.
Yeah.
And that still gives you the opportunity to then add additional lines and things like that as well. So
and the photos, the invoices, they'll just stay on the cloud forever, basically.
Yeah, so it all stays in Hubdoc. So you've got the ability to use, and I'll show you in Hubdoc.
And is that safe then? You just scan your thousands of archive boxes after 7 years?
I get this question every time. So obviously you've still got to be able to provide the document to the ATO in the event that you get an audit or something like that. So it's completely up to you what you want to do in that circumstance, I guess. Pete, have you got any?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Electronic's fine, as long as you keep the Hubdoc in the Xero and we can access it. Then
as long as you've got access to the document, that's the key thing. So
and that they're pretty safe. Like, it's not going to get lost. I don't know much about the cloud, but I assume it's just safe.
Yeah, well, Xero is a publicly listed company, so it's got all the protocols. It's same level of data security as the banks, Brett. So I went to a session on data security in Xero a couple of years ago, and the people that look after security in Xero are the ones that look after your bank details. That was the nuts and bolts of the session. So it's as safe as your banking details, which everyone trusts the internet for their banking details. It's exactly the same from that point of view. The storage security is massive with Xero, that's for sure.
So with your upload, I just thought I'd mention this as well. Yep, you've got the app, which is what I showed you just on the little video there. But yeah, you can drag and drop files from your computer. You can also submit via email, and you can change this email address. And it's the same sort of thing as what you'd do in Xero if you're using Xero email to builds. So you can just basically forward an email if you've got a bill or an invoice attached to it. You can forward it to this email address, and it'll come straight into Hubdoc. So you can also scan it if you want to scan it, or you can do multi-page as well. So it comes completely down to what you're comfortable with, what you're used to. The app works great for things on the go, so things like credit card expenses. I think, Pete, you agree with that if you're out for lunch somewhere, or you quickly go and fuel up or something, it's quick and easy to just take a picture of it. Whereas if you've got some invoices or bills you want to upload, you might be more inclined to go through and do a bulk scan and so.
Good. We got any other questions before we?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Sarah, so where you were saying in Hubdoc you can have like multi-lines. So, for example, a motor vehicle with a private percentage you can
Yeah.
do your split. And does it work on a percentage? You know, can you set it as a percentage?
I'll just have a look. So it'd probably work the same as, we'll just see here. So if we go, there we go. So it's, you can just, rather than doing your manual calculator, so all I did there was I just went $70 times 0.5. Oh, and it worked the first time, didn't work the second time. So you can just quickly come in and type the type the percentage in, and it'll do it for you. And so we can do, maybe this line here was for private use. We can do a category, and we'll just do drawings. And then the other half, we can then go bill. So it depends as to what, I guess, what you'd like to do. Like if you start getting transactions that you've got, some of it's fuel, some of it's whether or not you went and got some meals at the fuel station, things like that. So it really depends as to what you want to utilize it for, as to whether or not you want to have it set up with that here. Or if you'd want to continue just using a bankroll, if that's nice and simple. So it's just really a matter of, looking at what you want it to do. There is a functionality there to keep adding lines, but it just depends. Whatever you set up here is going to continue forward. So there's no point changing it once if next time it's not necessarily the same. On a similar basis, if you've got one vehicle that's 100% business and the other one's 50% private, if you set it up here, it's going to mean that each time it's going to treat it the same. So there's no distinguishing between the two vehicles because it's the same Puma supplier. So in that instance, though, you could just jump into Xero and do an adjustment in Xero. So it's still easy to do it. It's just a matter of whether or not you do it in Hubdoc or you do it in Xero.
So you've got the choice.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. I might just stop sharing this screen then. And I guess we'll throw it back to Pete unless anyone's got any other questions.
Sorry, one more.
Oh, yep, right.
So say if you got, say, insurance or Queensland Transport or something.
Yep.
Can you, and say if you just take your photo and that's go bang straight into Xero, can you have a rule that, you know, so that if that's split up between, say, 7 stores at a set percentage, or like basically like a rule that you have in Xero?
In a bankroll. I don't necessarily think that it'd be that in depth. Pete, do you have any?
Yeah, I haven't done it before, mate, from that point of view. Yeah,
Because
because bankrolls are good like that because you can go percentage, and it's nice and easy. The rules in Hubdoc, I'm not quite sure if it does do the percentages or not. So
yeah. I wouldn't think for something that big, I'd probably think that that's probably a little bit suited, whether or not you just get the document come in, you do a journal out, or you just leave it as a bankroll. And what you can do is, rather than pushing it to Xero as a transaction, you can push it to Xero as a file to sit in your file. That way it's still in Xero, but it's not actually going to be attached to a transaction. That's probably what I'd be more inclined to do, and leave it as a rule. But
that makes sense. And last one.
Yeah.
So who would I book an appointment for, like a couple of hours to go through what we need to do to make it work?
So yeah.
I don't know if you can see it point that way, but
you pointed to me, mate.
I'm not quite sure who it is.
I'm not going to help myself. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, definitely. You can just give me a call, give me an email, and we can arrange a time to go through it and figure out what. So the main thing is, obviously, it's not just a one-size-fits-all, jump in and do it. It's reviewing what your processes are and what's going to be suited for Hubdoc, what's not. So yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
Thanks very much.
Awesome.
That's awesome. All right. Well, 45 minutes, 5:15. We've done pretty well for time tonight, which is awesome. I have put a link down the right-hand side there for a Survey Monkey. So if you do have time, if you could please click on the link and fill out that little survey for us, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Sarah, for presenting tonight from my office there, which is awesome. So I'm in the in the common room, which is good. But thank you very much for everybody for attending. If you're listening to this recording as well, thank you as well. And if you have any questions over the next week or two about Hubdoc, as I was pointing to, don't fire it to me, fire it to Sarah at Canars is the best one to go to, or the Canars accountant that you deal with as well can help you out also. So have a safe night. Enjoy the weekend that's going to come up. It's going to be nice and cool in some areas. So I hope we all stay safe, and it's good that COVID restrictions are starting to lift that little bit more. As an update, I did go out for lunch on Friday last time that I had the webinar, and I'm going out for dinner on Saturday night. So I'm really getting adventurous. So I hope you all are too, getting out and supporting local. And I also pretty much go to Brett's shop every day at the moment, so which is unusual for me too. So no, very good. All right, have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sarah.
Peter. Thanks,
Thank you
Sarah.
very much.
Thanks, Peter. Bye now.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye, Helen.